What's up, guys? Thanks for watching this video. These are my picks for UFC 300. Now, I feel like I should warn you, these takes aren't to be taken too serious. I'm somewhat of a casual of the sport. I really only started seriously paying attention back when McGregor got finished by Poirier. So if some of these takes aren't as nuanced as you'd like, sorry about your luck. Maybe you should have figured based off of the title and thumbnail. But if that is something you're into, something that'll make you feel better about your own choices and your own picks, keep watching. We're about to get into it. I do plan on uploading more MMA content in the future, mainly around good fight nights or all the pay-per-views. So I do appreciate any constructive criticism in the comments. Let me know what I can do better for you guys. That'll make this a lot more enjoyable. So I'll go ahead and quit yapping. Let's get right into it. Kicking off UFC 300 is actually one of the top 5 fights in my opinion for this card. I have a lot of anticipation for this fight. That is Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. I feel like this one is pretty straightforward to call. I think Figgy is going to knock the ever-living shit out of Cody Garbrandt. I mean, Figgy just looks so dangerous at 135. The fact that he was able to dictate the fight against a power puncher like Rob Font in a weight class higher than his own is just a testament to how good Figgy really is. So a pro Cody argument I've been seeing float around online is that Figgy hasn't had the same variation of opponent that Cody has, and people are trying to use that to justify their reasoning for picking Cody to win. And quite frankly, that is bullshit. And although it may be true that Figgy was fighting the same guy over and over and over for a few years, that guy was Brandon Moreno, and they were putting on absolute technical master classes every fight. Those fights were a privilege to watch, and they definitely kept Figgy sharp. And the fact that he put his hands on Rob Font the way he did is a really big testament to that as well. Now, Cody, on the other hand, Cody's been getting really good cherry-picked stylistic matchups from the UFC, and I feel like they're giving him these just so they'll be able to justify putting him in a match against a guy like Figgy at this stage in his career. We all know Cody loves to bang, and anytime a fighter lays that trap in front of him, Cody walks into it. I mean, hell, half the time Cody lays it down himself and he just waltzes right in. He really does not mind. And the fact of the matter is, he can't afford to do this against Figgy. Figgy will put his lights out in a second. I mean, there's no way people see that clip of Kai Kara France knocking Cody down, and they just don't think Figgy's going to go up and do the exact same thing. I mean, besides, they have a common opponent in Rob Font. If you just compare their performances, and even if you just look at the significant strikes absorbed by each fighter, it paints a pretty clear picture. Need I say more? Taking all of that into account, I got Deiveson Figueiredo by KO/TKO, probably in the second or first round. Up next, we got Bobby Shimmy Green versus Jim fucking Miller. I gotta go with Jim on this one, guys. My reasoning for this is kind of simple. Jim's got that dog in him. Even at his age, I feel like Jim consistently shows that he has what it takes to gut out a grueling decision win, and that he has the hunger to look for a submission or finish late in a fight. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, I must admit, the fact that Bobby Green took so much extra damage and got finished in the first round in his last fight, that's got to be having some influence in my opinion here, but that is not the biggest reason why. The main reason that I think 40-year-old Jim Miller is going to win this weekend at UFC 300 is pretty simple. It's the reason why Chris Weidman came back and looked good in his last fight. I think you all know what I'm getting at. I mean, let's just be realistic here. This is going to be Jim's last fight. There's like a 95% chance he retires, win or lose. And especially considering his past of fighting at UFC 100 and UFC 200, there is no better place for Jim fucking Miller to retire other than at UFC 300. So basically what I'm getting at is, put yourself in Jim's shoes. If I were Jim fucking Miller and I knew this was going to be my last fight, and, I'm seeing things in the media about USADA leaving and, a change of passing of the torch in terms of the drug thing, I might try to slip one in there. I might try to slip a needle in my ass or two, something like that. Why not go for it? It's your last fight anyways, right? Fuck it, throw caution to the wind. Fuck it, I gotta go with Jim, the Juicehead Miller, to win, either by decision or maybe a late stoppage. Alright, up next we got Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I don't know shit about either of these two other than Andrade's OnlyFans. So based off of that alone, I'm giving it to Marina. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I got you, didn't I? But I feel like it's clear that Marina is going to win. I mean, I know Andrade just beat Dern, but I feel like Andrade had a little trouble with some of Dern's shots. And I know Marina was just fighting the karate hottie in her last fight, but she looked aggressive, she looked ruthless, and more importantly, she looked strong. I just don't think Andrade has the chin to take those shots. Also, the fact that Dern got beat by Lemos recently too, for me that waters down Andrade's win against Dern, and to me it makes it even more clear that Marina is probably just gonna put a beating on Andrade and finish her on the feet. So I'm going with Marina Rodriguez by either a TKO or unanimous decision. Right, up next we have the latest addition to the UFC 300 card, I believe, Jalen Turner versus Renato Moicano. This may be a controversial opinion to the MMA community, but I'm not the biggest fan of Moicano. I find him kind of cringe. You know, I like his interviews on the MMA Hour. I think those are cool. He's definitely an interesting mind. But the second he lost me was when he started yapping about, Moicano need money, Moicano need money. I don't know, call me a hater, but that's just how I feel. That's the truth, alright? And the truth will set you free. But I digress. Jalen looked very sharp in his last 3 fights, in which he arguably won the fight against Dan Hooker. I personally think he won that fight, but whatever. I do know that Moicano has a pretty significant grappling advantage over Jalen Turner, but I just think the reach and takedown defense from Jalen will be enough, and I just don't see Moicano being able to consistently get that takedown without getting a knee or elbows or whatever to the face on the way in. So aside from an early sub or a fluke late KO when Jalen's tired, I don't think Moicano really has a solid way of winning. So I got to go with my boy Jalen by unanimous decision or what I believe will be a TKO. Youssef versus Lopez. This one was actually a really tough one for me to pick. I think it's a really good toss-up in the air based off of their fighting styles. At first I was leaning towards Lopez due to his range and the reach and height advantage, but that was until I was scrolling through Twitter and then I saw a clip of Youssef finishing Benitez. I don't know why, but that clip really changed the tides for me. It just reminded me that Youssef is very explosive, and Lopez tends to lower his hands in the exchanges on his way out, and I could easily see Youssef landed a nasty 1-2 to drop Lopez and get a flash KO finish. This fight I feel is really slept on. I think it's set to be a real back and forth banger, and this is probably going to be one of the highlights of the night, if not fight of the night. Because it's such a big toss-up, I think I'm just going to have to go with my gut and buff my parlay. So I'm picking Youssef by TKO, but I really would not be too surprised if Lopez gets the job done early. Up next, we got the final women's fight for the night. I'm actually really excited for this one. We got Holly Holm versus Kayla Harrison. I've personally been waiting for Kayla to come to the UFC ever since I kind of first heard about her. I'm not too sure when that was, but I remember Nunez was still fighting, and that was obviously the dream matchup. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case. Although, if Harrison puts on a good performance this weekend, who knows? Nunez has talked about possibly coming back, and that would be an awesome future match to see. But as for the fight, Holm versus Harrison, I think it's going to come down to how does Kayla handle this weight cut. Assuming she has 0 performance issues from the cut, I think Kayla would win by pretty easy domination. I think a healthy Kayla can take Holm down with ease, and I'm not sure if Holm could get up off the ground or even make it out of the round against a healthy Kayla. However, if Kayla is anything less than perfect, which odds are she won't be perfect based off of the weight cut, I think Holly will be able to dispatch of her in a smooth, fluid way, similar to how she did Ronda. I really just think that Holly's composure and striking is unlike anything Kayla has ever seen. And I would also imagine that the quote-unquote bright lights of UFC 300, I think that might get to Kayla. Yeah, I know Kayla has headlined PFL and other organizations, but obviously none of these hold a candle to the production and crowd that the UFC draws, let alone being dead center of arguably the greatest card of the 2020s. That's a lot of lights and that's a lot of pressure on Kayla Harrison for her debut at a weight class that may be too low for her. Now compare this to Holly Holm. Holly Holm is a bona fide cold-blooded killer. We have seen what she can do at the highest level, highest pressure, all eyes on her. She dispatched of Ronda like nothing. This is not an easy fight for Kayla. And if Kayla botches that weight cut in any way, I think Holly will dispose of her fast, quick, and easily, probably in the first round, similar to how she did Ronda. So until Kayla kind of can show me otherwise that she's handling this weight cut very good, I got to go with Holly by TKO or possible unanimous decision win, but Holly by domination. Up next, we got Calvin Kattar versus Aljamain Sterling. This is one that I am very, very, very excited for. Big reason for that is I am of the opinion that Aljo is a bantamweight GOAT. I feel like he never got the credit he deserved during his run. I mean, for God's sake, he beat Peter Yan twice. I mean, I get it. One was quote-unquote BS, but he came back and he beat Yan legitimately. And it wasn't all that close. I mean, he had the control and it was pretty obvious Aljo was letting those last few rounds go, but whatever. As good as I may think Aljo is, it's clear as day Kattar is a significantly better striker. Significantly. And I think if Kattar was as good as he was pre-injury, I think Kattar batters Aljo on the feet and leads him to an inevitable finish. But this likely isn't the case. Kattar has been out for a little while now, and he might be a little rusty at first. I feel if Aljo comes out aggressive or learning from his mistakes against the Sugar Sean fight, I feel he could steal Kattar's back early on for the finish, really taking advantage of that ring rust that Kattar may have. Because of that, I'm going with an Aljo sub. Alright, up next, we got the featured prelim, Jiri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic. I think Jiri wins this one. Jiri was having decent success against Pereira, and he seemed to be getting better as the fight went on until he got knocked out. I don't think Rakic has the same power that Pereira has, and we saw how Alexander kind of had some issues with Jan's awkward flurries, so I would imagine that Jiri's even more awkward flurries would give Rakic even more trouble. I do think Rakic has a pretty clear path to victory there. I think Pereira kind of exposed it. If you focus on those leg kicks and keep kicking the legs of Jiri, you can destroy his movement, and without his movement, his striking becomes just improper, ugly striking, and a guy as technical as Rakic can really take advantage of that. Something that I think will play a significant factor against Alexander is the fact that his last fight was in 2022 in the Apex. So to come back after an injury at such a big stage of the feature prelim of UFC 300 from the Apex, that's a pretty big jump. So I wonder if that'll affect the nerves at all. But overall, I feel like Jiri is coming in with a big chip on his shoulder, and I think he really has something to prove. So I have Jiri by late TKO. Alright, we're finally on to the main card, and the fact that we're just now getting to the main card after going over all those fights, it really goes to show how stacked this card is, and I am absolutely excited, and I cannot wait for Saturday. But anyways, to kick off the main card, we got Bo the Nutbreaker Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Now, you guys don't need to tell me. I know Bo will win. I know the odds. I know this, alright? But I'm going with Cody. Now, you may be asking yourself, why are you going with Cody? Well, just like Moicano, I need money. I need money, and those odds are too good to give up. And hey, I've been feeling a little lucky lately. I've been finding one too many 4-leaf clovers, and so these odds are too good to pass up. But that's definitely a part of it. But something I've been feeling is that I feel like Bo's a little overrated, and it seems like he's buying into his own hype. And I feel that Cody is slightly underrated. Nobody's giving him any kind of chance. I did feel the same way when Bo fought Val Woodburn, and that didn't turn out in my favor, but something about this fight is a little bit different. So, because of that, I have Cody by finish early. So, following what will be the upset of the year, we got Charles Oliveira versus Arman Sarukian. When this fight was first announced, I honestly thought Charles wouldn't stand a chance against Sarukian. I thought it was a clear slaughter, and that it was a shameless passing of the torch. But as like most people, the Poirier and BSD fight really changed my opinion on this fight entirely. To me, it really reinforced that this old guard is on a whole nother level, and the fact that Oliveira went through the old guard in the way he did, to me, it gives me more confidence in my pick in Oliveira. Now, I know Arman is absolutely well-rounded and is most likely juiced to the gills, but I feel if Charles can avoid taking big shots early, I think he might be able to pull off that TKO win. I may just be riding the hype train, but I gotta go with Charles by TKO. Now, what really gets me interested is who is Oliveira gonna call out after if he wins? I mean, probably McGregor, that's pretty obvious, but like, let's say he wanted to actually take it serious for a second. I would love to see him call out the winner of the BMF match. I think either way, the rematch between Gaethje or a rematch between Holloway, either of those would be must watch. Well, here we are, the people's main event. We made it. I mean, I really can't wait for this one, obviously, and especially with the announcement of the custom fighter shorts. I'll throw them up right now. I feel it adds a little something special to this fight, at least for me. I know this is a controversial take here in the MMA community, but I think Max is going to win, and I think he's going to win by finish pretty early. I just think Max's build and style will favor him in the striking over Gaethje, and I also think that Gaethje will come out swinging very wildly, similar to the Oliveira fight. I feel in the Oliveira fight, Gaethje allowed the crowd of his hometown to influence him, his home state at least, and I think that was a big reason why he came out swinging as hard as he was. I think it'll be very similar in this fight, and considering Holloway has arguably better striking than Oliveira, and they're of a similar build, I could easily see Holloway catching Gaethje in a similar exchange that Oliveira did. Also, I'd like to add, I don't think Gaethje's head kicks are going to be worth anything here. I think the only reason that was so effective against Poirier was because Gaethje's never thrown anything like that in his life, anything like that in his career. I've never seen it. If he has, it didn't do a damn thing. So I think that's the only reason that caught Poirier, and besides, I feel Max is more likely to deliver a punishing head kick to Gaethje than Gaethje is to deliver one to Max. Basically, to sum it up, I think Max's reach and long punches at the end of exchanges is going to be enough to catch Gaethje early on, and I got Max by TKO. I actually lied earlier about Holly Holman and Kayla Harrison being the last women's fight. I don't know how the hell I could have forgot about Wei Li versus Yan, but this fight, honestly, I'm not too familiar with Yan, but I am very familiar with the skill and power of Wei Li. Every time Wei Li fights, unless it's against Rose, I always vote for Wei Li. Always. It's just that simple for me every time. She just doesn't let me down. And besides, she's the one with the custom shorts, so I gotta go with Wei Li by TKO. I just realized I said vote earlier. I meant root. Root for her, not vote. Well, we finally made it, guys, to the bell of the ball, the main event of UFC 300, Alex Poatan Pereira versus Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill. Chama Boy versus Sweet Dreams. Honestly, I got Hill knocking the Chama out of Poatan. Now, don't get me wrong, I like Pereira. I really do. His story coming up from the tire shop and the favelas, that's unbeatable. That's movie level stuff right there. But Jesus Christ, the whole fan base of Chama, Papi Poatan, Chama in my chummy, please. Those fucking Pereira fans drive me crazy. Absolutely crazy. Like, so much so to the point that I wouldn't mind seeing Pereira getting flatlined by Sweet Dreams as long as I could see the reaction of the fans. I would love to see their reaction if their daddy Pereira gets chamaed by Mr. Sweet Dreams. If we put that aside, I honestly think Hill knows his only real way of winning is by KO, and I think he's going to rush in with the intent to get that KO with every time he flurries him. I mean, we've seen Pereira eat flurries from Yan, and he took them pretty well, but he took them. And if Jamal Hill comes in real early and real hard with that, I don't know if Pereira is going to be able to recover from that. I think if Pereira can survive those early flurries, I think the fight will slowly go more and more in his favor as it goes on. I think Hill will slowly gas out, even though we've seen Pereira doesn't have the best gas tank. He's been in more fights and he's been more active, so I would assume that his cardio is automatically at a higher level than Hill's because of that alone. Obviously, Hill's injury and recovery is going to be a massive factor in this fight, because even if he's not 100% fixed yet, that's going to have significant effect. Even if it's at like 95% usage rate, whatever the fuck the fighters say, I don't know. I mean, obviously this is some Twitter doctor or whatever, but they say something about because it's the Achilles, he won't be able to put as much power, produce as much power coming from it because he got a plant. So if it's not 100% good, which it seems like it might not be, he won't be able to fight as good as he normally does. Another factor that I'm considering is the bright lights and Hill's nerves. Hill's been gone for a little while, and in his time gone, he's gained a pretty big following on social media. Now, it's not really a good following. It's usually people hating all over him, but if you combine that with the pressure of all the shit he's been talking and the pressure of being the main event of UFC 300, I really wouldn't be surprised if we see Hill looking nervous on the walkout. And now, my fight opinions change often based off of a lot of the media I consume during fight week. So if the press conference is kind of crazy and a lot of things develop from there, my opinions on these fights may change. So if the press conference is crazy or I find out any crazy info, I will make an updated video. I'll try to get that out by Friday or something. But if not, these are my picks. Make sure to check me out on Twitter. I'll put that in the video now and I'll drop it in the description. I'm going to be live tweeting the entire card, starting from Figgy and Cody all the way to Poatan versus Hill. And let me know what your bets are. Let me know what you think on my picks. What do you think of my analysis? How casual am I? Or maybe I'm not so casual at all. Maybe simple is better and I'm one of the best analysts in the game and you guys are here for the start of it. So I'm not going to film any live reactions to the fights yet, but I am going to film my immediate reactions after, probably the day after, and I'll try to get that up for you guys by that Monday. But make sure to check out my other videos and Twitter, Twitch, all that shit, whatever. Peace out, guys. Thanks for watching.